This is dedicated to a young man. And, he had lost 30 hives, all that he had, to beetles. All of them. Remember, the mites carry viruses, but so do the beetles, okay? These little boogers just put them out of business, and they almost did to me, but when the second year after they were here. What got me started on this was when the beetles just about put me out of business. I called up Kelly, and I asked her for one of their beetle trap things, okay? And they sent me, the lady, I forget her name, she was running the place then, Jan or Jane or something like that, nice lady, but she sent me one of these. They took an old bee, bottom, you just put on the ground, people do this, and made it a bottom board, but there's a couple of weaknesses. There's slots in the side of it for this to go back and forth. There's slots in the side of it for this tray to go back and forth, which is $8 for, by the way. And the tailgate keeps falling off, I don't even know where it is. You can't have a rear gate that you don't know where it is and stay in business with beetles around, okay? We've all seen people who had beat up stuff with, knot holes and cracks and stuff rotten. All that is an imitation for beetles to just inundate you, okay? If you got stuff like that around, they're going to find you. They crawl all over the place all night looking for a place to get in, and if you give it to them, they'll take it. Okay? So you got to use the newer stuff or patch your other stuff up pretty good, because otherwise you're just raising beetles for people, okay? And that's not good. This model you're about to see here is a model 2016 Zulu. This is the last one I'm going to do, I hope. But anyway, one thing that gave me hope to stay in the bee business, and I got to tell you, it was looking down for a while. The predecessor to this one was I made this one more streamlined, but it's a little deeper and all. But I found some of this zinc is glitter stuff, I had this one, I had it like this here, and a solid top on it. And it was so beautiful to see those bees. They come out in an in-depth defense. They were like a corridor of bees doing a balancing act on this drawbridge thing. So that was the only way into the hive. I had screen on each side. And it was just, I got to think, if that beetle wanted to get in there, I don't think he could make it, because if he bulldozed through those bees, he'd end up with these holes under him. And in those holes, I had cut beetle traps, okay? I've had that hive for 4 years. And that's pretty good given the attrition rate we're used to, okay? Same hive. So I got to thinking a better way to make this. These little holes in the front, of course, are drain holes. This is offset a little bit if you can have one of these little beetle hotels to go in there. Some people put the old bare strips, a little inch of it, and some pollen or something to draw them. I don't want that stuff in high because it's too strong. But anyway, there's different things you put in here, health-approved roach killer stuff, but it's outside the hive, okay? It's not really, it's in the dry moat, you might say. But it's important that you have a corridor that regulates your coming and going. In my dad's bee yard, we had 250 at one place one year, and every one of them except one had beetles. And the one that didn't was an old box my grandpa had taken a flat piece of cypress wood and nailed it to the bottom and had 3 little triangles like little teepees like this here. 1, 2, 3, and that's all they had for a way in and out. And it was in partial shade. It had been out in the sun all day, they'd been cooked. But that hive could guard that entrance, okay? Let's think for a minute. The beetle's advantages are that it's dark. In the dark you can't hardly see it. It's fast. They crawl really fast. And you got guard bees out there with an old-timey, flat bottom board that we've seen all our lives. They come in at an angle, hitting the deck running, go right by the guard bee before she has a chance to see what happens, and goes there and hides somewhere in a crack or in the leaf that fell in there, wherever she can get if they don't round her up. And then at night when they're clustering out the road to keep it warm, well, she goes to work. And before too long, you got a box full of little worms crawling around that when you squeeze them, they laugh at you, okay? And I put them in the water. It took 30 minutes to drown them. You have to see it to believe it. 30 minutes. 30 minutes. But anyway, the key is to keep them out. So this bee castle is like a veritable fortress. these flanges on the side, I've seen even new equipment in the box, you have a crack right here that beetle could flatten out and squeeze itself through that crack, okay? Even if you had relatively good stuff, if it wasn't mashed up good, you could get in there. I even took these aluminum flanges and put on the sides like this here to, again, break up the coming and going from the side. But I dispensed with that because if you've got a one frame box, you put a lid on, that's messed up. And when I put a box on a box, I don't just sit it flat on there. I put a little bit cattywampus about 2 or 3 inches off so you can turn it and make your corners, opposite corners straight, squared up. It's on there. That way you're not squishing beads, you push them out of your way, okay? So I don't use the flanges. But they do help when you're going to move beads. You don't need staples really. But the trade-off to me wasn't worth it. But anyway, again, you want all cracks secured. You don't want stuff with knot holes in it. The next thing is the back door. I made a lot of these things up for A&M years ago. The best tailgate I could come up with was something like this to go in. It went like so. These are the sides. But anyway, a raccoon can keep at it and get this off there. And then you got in that cold wind up there in that Washington place, that field they had, that cold, damp air coming there all the time. That's not good for man or beast, okay? So you got to secure the tailgate. I have used aluminum hinges, and I got a lot of this aluminum stuff laying around the house. And you might want to use aluminum too. I got it at Fastener Services over on Frankfurt. And even though it costs you something, the little metal rod that holds these two together is also aluminum. You go to some mom and pop hardware store and get a little brass coated one. No, that'll work, but no, it won't, because it gets that naked steel is cheap and it rusts, and then this freezes up and you tear your gate off getting the thing open, okay? You need something that'll stay flexible with you, okay? And the whole width is the deal. This is what's shorter, but I use the whole width now. You want no cracks, no holes, no way they can find a way in there in the back door. This here, what I've used on this model is this nylon stuff. You get over at the fabric store next to Home Depot over on 23rd Street, okay? Nylon, okay? Durable stuff. It's not that expensive and cheaper than this, but anyway, both will do the job. For a little tray in the bottom, with your oil pan, I get these trays at Sam's, okay? They're baker's trays, make cookies and stuff. Get them, they come two to a package for about 12 bucks. But they'll last as long as you do, okay? Now, like anything that gets scuzzy, you gotta clean them and all that, but still, this is good quality stuff, good and durable. And you don't need to fill this pan up with oil. You need about 1/4 inch thick, that's all you need. It doesn't need to be bleeding oil everywhere. Which reminds me, the disadvantages of the first ones I made was there was no way to clean it unless you had to get some kid with a little arm to go in there and squeeze, or hire somebody with the pressure washer to spray it all in there. But this here model, this can be tighter, by the way. You put your hot little hand in there and you push up on this, and the dungeon cover, I'll call it, pops right out, okay? Well, the bottom of this model is not plywood, it's sheet metal. Anyway, easy to clean, okay? Sanitation is not unimportant. Thanks, Sam. So we got another model that's not perfected yet. We're going to work it out. I've had it going out the bottom, but we're using the quilt stuff to go in that because it's even narrower than this one. But if you don't clean this thing after a while, even a beetle won't want to live, okay? But they'll be there. But anyway, you got to clean it up every once in a while, and especially if you pump something, you're going to get oil where if you've got too much oil in it, and even if you don't, you move them, it's going to be sloshing around, okay? On the bottom, the cleats, these cleats are 15 and 5/8 apart. Reason being is, I've had stuff on benches that are go on concrete blocks, that's 15.5 inches. This is another 1/8 of an inch, and you go on these 2x6 runners, it's just right on there, that way if a bear backs into it, you doesn't knock everything over. You know, some of my cement blocks I got too high with cement in them and rebar, so it stabilizes the bench, okay? In case the hot water gets there before I do, or a bear bumps into it. Anyway, the cleats are not unimportant. Also, if it's on flat surface, it's easy to pick up, okay? You got somewhere to put your fingers. I've tried all kind of traps and you name it, but I like the Cuts beetle trap that Lawrence and Mr. Claus worked on for so many years. And they go right here in the front, and I'm using this 8 3/2 rod. It doesn't take up much room and it's strong, okay? And you overlap them. And this deal here with my drawbridge with the old zinc excluder, it's nailed to the bottom. This goes like so, and this lip goes under the box so it helps keep the rain out, okay? But it slides in and out this way, and I got a special way to secure it. You'll have to see the web page to learn that secret. But anyway, you channelize your bees in and out this way. Now we take some screen wire. You know what screen wire looks like. We loop it over a piece of PVC and staple it here so it kind of makes a seal. So that is the way in and the way out, okay? You might want to know, well, what's with the short gills? Early on, I got inspired to put a night light up there. These little solar jobs you get, some people put them on a patio or whatever. What caused me to look for that and find it eventually was a guy on the east side of Panama. I forget his name, he's a commercial beekeeper. He got 5 acres off of Star Avenue there. He just brought his bees back. Showed me a picture on his camera where a black bear came and just took the lid off his deep fridge. Just took the lid off, poor guy. But anyway, when he brought his bees back, he put half on one side of 5 acres, half on the other. And the side that was in the dark over is full of beetles when he looked in them, but the side on the west side just had a night light. He could hardly find a beetle. They don't like light. It neutralizes the camouflage, okay? So I said, okay, I'll go first class. I had they put these on the front of a box, okay? Turn the lights off, it shine, okay? And even though they're made in China, these things have been through 2 tropical storms and a hurricane, but they work. I don't know for how long, but they've been working. But the other one I told you about didn't have a light. It just had the corridor and the zinc excluder stuff. Well, they came out and it had an in-depth defense, okay? And I was so pleased with them. I didn't find many beetles there either. But again, they're ruthless little buggers. They're all over the place. But that hive is still with me. But if you want to do the light stuff and go first class, you need not just a chop saw, it angles and cuts and goes, you go down. It's like $800 saw. But this guy cut me the short gills in here so the rain would be deflected away from my traps. If you get rain in your traps, you got oil in there, you get oily water everywhere, and that's more of a mess, okay? Anyway, if you're going to do this, it's good to have the rabbit cage wire here because lizards will be up there and they'll do that crack and pick off your bees. They won't know what hit them. Another little tidbit of information when we first started this, we had a piece of plexiglass. We cut a semicircle here and put plexiglass over it so the light would go through at night, which is fine. But in the daytime, the bees that crawled down the inside of the box, it was always those. They would come around and they would fly out and bang their head against the plexiglass, and all across the top of my Cuts beetle traps were all these dead bees with their butt and neck trying to get out of the house. So I said, nah, back to the drawing board. So we discontinued that. But this is what we came up with. Even though it's not essential, it's a neat way to do it. If you got the time and patience. But that's how this came to be in that regard, all right? Now, you might be wondering, well, what's all this deal you got going here? What's with these rods? When I was a boy, we had cattle. All riches were a bunch of crackers, okay? But we were uptown crackers because we had our own cattle. But Daddy put this big old fat lot of post in the ground and wrapped it with burlap, put fence staples in it and anti-mite stuff on it. I hate to admit it was black oil. But anyway, it'll kill mites and ticks and fleas. But then cows will rub up against that thing. Hey, that feels good, yeah. All of them, they were rubbing on that post. They figured out it helped them. Well, we put some sticky board on one of these with these rods, and we found a lot of dead mites on that end of the gearbox. Okay, so there's room here for the bee to go under it, and get them off her back, her thorax, and here as she goes up to go in the back over here, she's dragging them off the bottom of her abdomen, okay? This is an 8/32 rod. Again, I give them at Fasteners on Frankfurt Avenue. That's a handy little thing to do. Again, you're helping your bees help themselves. Oh, and by the way, this here, this is a, you've heard of catwalk, well, this is a bee walk. And it's spaced out so it would be under the frame on my 9-frame spacers. I use 9 frames in a 10-frame box. Reason being, in the heat, it gives them more, ventilation and everything, okay? But so this is not in the way of the mites and all that falling off because it's under the bottom bar of the frame above it. But that's where it is where it is. And I've noticed a lot of pollen in some of these trays, so, it falls through this screen where it's going to rub it off the pollen basket. Well, this way, she's got a way to walk up here to the back and not do that. And it's not so high that it messes up the frame here. It's just out of the way of the frame. But this is a bee walk, okay? It also strengthens this frame. I used a 1/2-inch stock, 1 inch wide. This stuff was a paint stick. As you go here, I made it on the bandsaw, made a little cut there so you can put it across, and then fill in the space with another 1/4-inch piece of wood. On the back, primarily I use 3/4 stuff to make it strong in the back. And under that is a wider piece of 1/4-inch stuff that comes out because I was going to put these down here. But instead of drilling holes in them and all for the rod's sake, I said, well, heck, I'll go higher. And so that's how they ended up higher. And that's anything you can do to help your bees, you want to do it, all right? The inspiration for what I'm about to tell you next came from the First Presbyterian Church in Panama City, where I'm a member. They own the old education building, the Bay County Education Building across the street that got wasted in a storm, okay? There have been bees in that building in the corner and on the side across from McDonald's for 12 years. 12 years without a beekeeper. Can you beat that? And the only way I could figure, when they rubbed together, the mites would fall. It was like 20-some feet high up there. It was on the 2nd floor, and they had a basement, half basement, 1st floor, 2nd floor, 22 feet high to get to them. They had a crack about 4 inches to come and go, and another crack about 1.5 higher, same distance, where it was a break in the mortar. That's how they got there. That's how they came and went. But when they rubbed together, those mites would fall down into the abyss. Okay, so that took care of them. And that little 4-inch entrance was about 3/4 wide. So again, they had an entrance that they could regulate, that they could pretty well guard. Okay. And it took a while, but I figured a way to get that box up there and tie it off and put cleats on it and foam, all this stuff. By the way, that foam will make your fingers numb. That stuff in the red can, you don't want it on your hide. It is not good for your skin, believe me. But nonetheless, I got them home now. And they're good bees. But a friend of mine named John Knox, that I do business with, on his bees I noticed something. On his boxes is a brood nest, and he uses Illinois for supers, honey supers like I do, not so hard on your back. Okay, all of them, you can look down in there and you see the bottom. His supers and his brood nest are 9-frame spaced. Okay, it means all in there you got a whole corridor where they can ventilate the airflow a lot easier. Of course, like a lot of people, I've used 8-frame spacers for my honey box because it makes them draw it out fat and it's a lot easier to uncap. But a 9-frame, you can still run it through your machine and get pretty good success. If you don't, that's what the scratchers are for, okay? But that seemed, his bees were, there were some strong bees. But I learned from him to do that. So that's all my stuff is going to have 9-frame spacers in it before it's over. Some people throw a piece of plywood on the box and it warps. They got a big hole in it for a sugar water jar and all that. That's just an open door for beetles, people, okay? But my lids have a crawl space. And the reason in this version is the plexiglass, the 1/4-inch stuff. Some hippies out in California put a 1/4-inch piece of plexiglass on the bee and said, well, beetles don't like light, so they got the sun shining, they ain't got lots of light, Yeah, at 104 degrees, wax melts. The bees got to stay home all day in air conditioning, they're not going anywhere. So I made this lid for indirect light, okay? I don't know if it helps anything, but we tried it. This here, you can get a bunch of them from Taunton's Building Supplies, little things you use to hold trusses together, okay? But air goes through it. You got to put some door screen behind it, keep the beetles out, and I found a way to do that here. You'll see it if you want to look at it. But generally, what we got, these kind of lids, which is a closed system to it, it's just like an attic space, okay? It's nice for them to have that airflow up there, okay? Remember, this is Florida. When it gets hot, it gets hot. Now, in addition to that, they got a crawl space to come and go better, okay? Instead of just having something flat on top of them, they can get from point A to point B quicker across the top. You're helping your bees every chance you get, okay? What's your mind? I like these excluders when I use excluders because they got this frame on them. And again, it gives you, the bee can crawl over and get on top of a top bar and just stand up and get through this. Otherwise, you got to reach out and do a pull-up and worm through that, and it takes you more time, okay? This is a little more humane way to do it. And if anybody here figures a way to use something like aluminum or stainless steel that just hits the bottom, raises up about a 1/4 inch or 3/8 of an inch, I'll hug you and buy you a beer anywhere you want, okay? Because I want to convert all my stuff to some sort of bee space, all right? By the way, I didn't bring you with me. I was in a hurry to get here, but remember I mentioned reflective insulation. I just took mine off, but it really helps them stay warm in the winter. They use it in Canada and Michigan and places like that. I used to get it at Lowe's. Miss Laura, where'd you get that off the internet?
Amazon.
Amazon.
Yeah.
It's reflective insulation. It's like a 1/4 inch thick at least. It's like 2 layers of tin foil with some sort of foam in there. You wrap around your arm in about 2 minutes, your arm will be hot. It does reflect your body. Likewise with the bees, okay? The pat answer to the current bee dilemma is to keep your hive strong. Which of course that helps everything, but it's not absolute. I don't doubt that young man in Gainesville had some strong bees, and the strongest hive I ever had was a 3-story deep with York bees from Jasper, Georgia in there, and they're mean as they can be. They're a first cousin of killer bees, okay? I mean, you go 100 yards, they're still after you. Of course, killer bees go half a mile, but these things, that's unpleasant, you know. They just got it in for you if you bother them. And I figured, well, these ought to be safe, because I mean, they were just bubbling out with bees. But the beetles overwhelmed them. They found a way to get in there and lay those eggs, and before you know it, there's all these worms everywhere you look, and the pollen going sour, the honey going sour, and the bees said, we're not staying here, we're swooping. So they absconded. So, to review, you need to regulate your entrance, okay? Just imagine a screen wire on each side of this. I didn't get this and finished, but it goes like a loop. So you've got kind of a double layer there, if you can. Because these beetles, they can mimic the pheromone of a nurse bee, or a young bee, to a nurse bee to feed me. And in the dark, there's been cases when people had this open screen on the bottom and to the ground there, they'd be all over the bottom, and bees, nurse bees were feeding the beetles. We don't want that. Anyway, so therefore the double thing. But as a makeshift thing that you can do this week in a hurry, is get you some 1/16 of an inch green wire and cut little 4-inch strips of it and staple it to each side of your entrance, and get at least a 1x2 or 1.5 by 3/4, you know, make a little porch there. And again, when you make that little porch, that beetle has to slow down and come in straight to get in there. There's no more of this coming in at an angle real fast, wide open, and hitting the deck running and zooming by the garden bee. She's got to come in slow and straight forward, okay? And she's constricted to this entrance here. Now I know your bees bump into each other, and that's okay. They'll get out of there, just like you did at church. There wasn't much of a crack, but that was a strong colony of bees. And to last that long, that's incredible. Normally bees in the wild, they don't make it without a beekeeper, but these did. But anyway, you restrict the entrance, You get rid of all cracks. Okay, you got all these frames, and the beetle can get in and hide. You know, when you take the box off, where the beetles are right on that lip of that, you know, where the frame rest is, okay? That's because they got a hiding place there. Well, what Jim Rich did was to take my Illinois boxes, when I got them new, a new bunch of them, and put a little cut on like this here, at an angle, on the bottom edge. And these are made so that you don't have a hole there when you put it together. It goes inside the side panels, like so. Okay. And that angle from the inside, not a real drastic angle, but a little angle, just enough where that bee can get her head in there and grab a hold of that beetle. So again, you're denying the beetle a place to hide at every turn. Okay. The ridge cut on the front and mirror panels of your supers. All this stuff about the screen thing and the rods for the mites, the narrow entrance, and the light, we're not so sure. But it was fun to mess with it. But you do get some mad bees, so when the beetle gets there at night, they got all these bees out there mad because somebody left the lights on, they're trying to go to bed because it's late, you know, and the light's still on. So they are agitated by it, but that's okay. The beetles get an unfriendly welcome when they get there. But if you got your bees in the city and you got a night light, you kind of get, you know, that would help you. Okay, see this angle right here? Your frames would be just below it, but again, that gives a bee room to maneuver to get the beetle. Okay.
Do you sell these, Mr. Rish?
Good question. I owe a fellow in St. Joe by the name of Wynn 10 of them, because he gave me the advance. I got to do that first. And what we decided to do was make a web page. There's no way I can make, people got an idea about this. I'd be the two, if I lived to be 1,000, I couldn't make enough of them. So we're going to put the detailed instructions of what comes where and where I got what, and the process of putting it all together, and the benefits of it on the web page. Be TheRishBeeCastle, R-I-S-H. Not risk, not rash, not rush, not rich, not Irish, but Rish. BeeCastle. And even a couple months, I can announce that we got that done, and you'll see. This is just to kind of whet your appetite. I have another model that's just before this, and I didn't get it to get here to you, but it's a similar version. Well, this is a Cadillac, okay? I wanted to show you this. But again, the flanges all the way around, and this is a neat little thing too. On the back door, it's just as important in the back as in the front. This flange here goes below this 3/4 inch strip of wood. It just drops below about 1/4 inch, so when you shut this tailgate, the cold air doesn't get in there and the beetle doesn't get in there, okay? Carpenter ants don't get in there. Roaches don't get in there, okay? It's secure. You want something that's secure, you want it strong, this is your foundation, okay? You want it sanitary where you can clean it up once in a while. So either the top's got to come out or the bottom's got to come out. This is the bottom model.
So that's the Cadillac version?
This is the Cadillac version. Tell the first
come
people.
with fuzzy dice?
No fuzzy, that's funny. No, I mean fuzzy dice with the deal. But see, I'm making these like in a bicycle shop kind of thing.
Well, I was thinking the mites might get caught in there.
What? That's when this here we're using the stuff out of quilts, the fuzzy, the stuffing, and they do get hung up.
Are you running those on all your hives?
I'm working on it. That's another thing. It's going to take me a while to get my own stuff done. But all my increases, I'm going to try to get these. The others are variations of this from 2016, 2018, 2020 to here. I mean, I had the little lids that pop up inside and the little rail things. I had, you name it, I've tried, okay? But this is the most easy to get to, easy to change out, and be secure to date, okay? By the way, I had taken this, the predecessors to Oregon, to Shastina Millwork. And they were enthusiastic about it. A guy named, what's his name?
It's been like 5 years.
I forget, I ain't seen him in a long time.
Yeah.
Anyway, I got a brass thing that he made for me. It says TheRishBeeCastle, okay? Stewart, that's his name.
Stewart, yeah.
Cost him $800. But then they got, well, at the time, you got the contract had the red ink on it. They got bought out by Man Lake, and Man Lake didn't want to deal with novelties. They just want old-fashioned lids, old-fashioned boxes, old-fashioned lids. They can make in a hurry. Money gets, you know. If you don't get your beetle problem under control and your mites under control, you won't have any business, okay? So this, even though it's time consuming, and again, I'm not doing this mass production kind of thing yet, but I'm working on it. It takes a lot of time. So, any more questions? Are you glad I came?
Yeah.